Welcome everyone, I am Katya Acosta-Martin, one of the horticulturists here at Rogers Gardens. I specialize in tropical plants and houseplants, which are pretty much the same thing, I would say. I also want to introduce today the greenhouse, which you can't completely see right now, but right behind me we do have a lot of uncommon plants that you typically won't find often, and this is our new program. And if you want to give us a follow on our new Instagram, it is called @thegreenhouserg. Check us out. We'll post a lot more as the weeks progress, and I hope you enjoy it. To start off today, we are going to be talking about late winter care and early spring maintenance for your houseplants, and we'll be covering some points, and then I'll probably just introduce some of our plants too to kind of just get a general idea of how to care for them and what you might need to do. So to start off, we're going to talk about location. Location's a very important thing when it comes to the winter. If you are not moving your plants and following the sun, you typically can have issues, only because most of the time we get a lot less hours of sunlight during the winter. The rays aren't as direct or as strong, and that can become a problem. So I would just follow the sun. Oftentimes it's usually one area that has the best sunlight, you just move them there. And I know it might be tedious, but it is well worth it, because then your plant survives the winter and you get to have it for the spring where it becomes really pretty. Another thing you would probably have to pay attention to is adjusting your watering routine. This is something that I did wrong all the time many years ago, and it killed a lot of my plants. You honestly want to cut back, and a good way to indicate that there's something wrong, or maybe you're overwatering, is molding. You actually get this white type of powdery mold at the very top oftentimes when you're doing too much watering. Also, your plant can kind of let you know too, because you'll get these wet browning spots on its leaves. So just kind of look at those and see if that's going on, because that's actually your sign, and it's letting you know that you should pretty much kind of cut back. And I usually also do the finger test, where I put my finger in my pot, kind of see if a third to a half of my pot is dry, and if it is, that's when I will water. If you are a little bit more skilled, or you feel more comfortable with your watering schedule, I also would recommend to kind of just lift it and see the weight. That's actually a really easy way to tell if you need to water as well. Another thing to probably look at too is your humidity and temperature. Humidity is actually a really important thing for a lot of the plants that are in this new room, and also in general for a lot of that regular house plants. You do see a drop in humidity during the winter that you have to kind of pay attention to and care for. So what I recommend is to group them, which you probably are already doing when you are moving them for the sunlight. So when you do group them, that actually creates a microclimate that pretty much keeps it a little warmer, a lot more humid. It's not going to be a resolution, because I always recommend a humidifier if you can get it. But if you can't, just group them together. That's a quick and easy step. Another thing, yes, temperature. Temperature is something that you do have to pay attention to, because as it gets colder, temperatures drop, your plants get unhappy. Cold drafts are a huge thing if you have it by a window. So if you do notice that there's a cold draft where you're placing them, maybe space it back a bit, and that kind of will help. I would also pay attention to heaters, fireplaces, anything like that that's too hot. That actually will dry up your plants a lot quicker, and you're actually gonna have to water more often, which is not something you want to do during the winter. It'll cause a huge issue. And probably one more thing to kind of worry about during the winter is fertilizing. A lot of people ask about fertilizing and what you should do with your houseplants, or if they need to be fed or not, and I actually don't think you should. I would probably wait until maybe March or April, when they actually start to give you new growth. And there are exclusions to that. There are some plants that are continuously growing during the winter that we can definitely talk to you about it if you have questions about, because it's not a lot of them. But if you're curious, give us a call. We're more than happy to assist you with that. And what else do I need to cover here? I think that's about it for my winter care tips, but I do kind of want to show you some of the plants in the room so you guys have an idea of what we did bring in. So for example, I have this philodendron. It's one of my favorite ones. It's the Philodendron Squamous, if I'm correct. It just has a really cool leaf. The stems are really fuzzy and kind of weird looking. The watering needs for this guy is actually not too bad. This would be a really good starter plant that's not super common, but it's really nice to look at. You probably water it once a week, kind of leave it alone, and it's good to go. Let me see what else I could recommend you guys. Oh, humidity, not too bad for this guy. It actually can acclimate pretty well to wherever you place it. Let's see. Same thing with this Rhaphidophora. These guys are great. They grow for me so well, and half the time I'm not really taking care of them. If anything, I'm abusing them. I water these guys once a week too. And like I said, this really, like, watering really depends on the pot size. Sometimes if it's a lot smaller like this, you might have to water a bit more. But these are really great. I recommend them because they just keep growing, and this whole family just is amazing. Let's see, what else can I recommend you? So this guy, one of the alocasias that we brought in, this does require a little bit more humidity. I have noticed with these guys, they tend to crisp up very easily, and I do recommend, if you do intend to buy it, maybe try to get a humidifier, or just if you have more plants, kind of group them with them, because they just have a tendency to like dry up quite easily, even with watering too. I would probably water 2 to 3 times a week, I would say. Maybe not yet, probably wait a few more weeks, but as it gets warmer, definitely 2 to 3 times a week. And this Stephania erecta. I love these guys because they look really bald right now, but when they start to give you foliage, it actually kind of looks like nasturtium leaves, and I'm really obsessed with that. It looks great, and these guys actually don't really need to be watered. They hate to be watered often. In their natural location, they prefer to kind of dry out in between their watering, so be mindful of that when you buy this guy. If you are not a watering kind of person, this would be a good option, because I forget often, and I love this thing. It just does not need to be taken care of. Let's see. I'm gonna do this Dracaena. So we actually brought in a lot of crazy looking Dracaenas that you don't typically see. They're a lot smaller too, so it's not like we're gonna have mature ones, but we have this kind of Dracaena where it does require higher humidity, and it does need to be watered a lot more often, and that's why you can't tell, but pretty much its soil, it absorbs water pretty well for that reason, because if it does dry up in between waterings, it'll probably lose a few leaves. We also have another Dracaena that I forgot to pull out, but this guy, these are really hard to get. This is probably one of the rare plants that we have in here right now, only because I think we're one of the few places that actually carries them at the moment. So yeah, these also require high humidity and lots and lots of watering. I don't want you to keep it moist, but don't keep it overly wet, but moist, like maybe a rain sponge. That's like my best recommendation, if anything. Great. And I think my last, I guess, plant to show you guys is this Hoya. I think it's really weird. I think it's really weird. It looks like hair or like even a weed. And I just like Hoyas in general because they're just so easy to care for. What I do is just kind of cut back on watering with these guys often, so they usually don't follow my regular plant routine or plant watering routine. I water them maybe once a week, sometimes a week and a half. With this guy, maybe actually I might water a little bit more, only because it has smaller leaves and it looks like it might dry up a lot quicker. So yeah, Hoyas are just a great recommendation for anyone that wants to start off and get like a more uncommon plant and don't want to do a lot of work. This is probably a good option. We do have other Hoya varieties that kind of do the same effect, and I would recommend those. So yeah, and once again, just want to let you guys know to follow our new account, the GreenHouse RG, and that's going to be on our Instagram if I'm correct. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you do have any questions, feel free to give us a call, and we're more than happy to assist you.